last class. My second last class. Ever! At least at this place. So who was the kind soul that donated this? Do they want it back? Yeah. There we go. It makes the sound constant. So, any questions about the exam? Yeah.
Are we allowed a crib sheet?
Are you allowed a crib sheet? Yeah, why not? Yeah. It's going to be an instructor supervised exam, so yeah. Crib sheet, sure. I'll have the ultimate syntax reference sheet printed off for you guys, just like last time, eh? Same idea as the midterms, basically, just longer. Yes?
The ultimate one or the exam one?
Oh. I'll take a look and see which one is better, and I'll give you the better one. Good. This thing is still firing up. That's amazing. Wait, is it? Did I? All right. It was on. See, chalkboards never do this. There we go. All right. I really only have one thing that I want to give you in terms of teaching that's still relevant, because I'm not going to quiz you on it. The time zone thing isn't going to be on the exam, so I think the time is better spent you guys asking me questions, and then we'll just, call it a day. So, so last time we were talking about strf time, string format time. This is a mechanism by which you take a date time object and print it in some kind of human readable fashion, with the various fields specified by percent signs, filled out with various information collected from the datetime object itself. There is a symmetrical method for reading strings into datetime objects, strp time. Does any of you clever clogs know what the P stands for? Yes. Parse, yes. Parsing is the process of taking a string and extracting information from it. So, strp time, our first input is some date in some format. Our second is another format control string. You will notice the same fields are used, but this format control string needs to conform to the format that's given in the string itself, right? The spaces need to be in the same places, the colons need to be in the same places, the commas need to be, like all non-date characters must match exactly, right? So, when we, take this in, like, let's just do a quick demo. iPhone 3. date time, import date time. Then we have, string is, let's say it's, April, no, let's do 11/11/2011, just for fun, at 11 o'clock, 11 minutes, and 11 seconds. Datetime dot strp time, s with format string, day is lowercase d slash month slash year, then a space, then hour, minute, second. And you can see we return a datetime object with years, months, days, hours, minutes, and seconds all, lined up nicely. Make sense? From this, you can then perform math on it in a way that conforms to the way that time works. So if you wanted to add, a time delta of 3 days, 4 hours, 22 minutes, it would do so in a manner that respects leap years, time zones, daylight savings time, all of the terrible, horrible things that throw off calculations. It probably also even tells you when Easter is, which is a fun one because it's on a different day every year. But yeah, any questions about that? Yes? Oh, you're just adjusting, okay. Shall we talk about the course then? Shall we do some review? What do you guys want to know?
The insert.
The what?
The insert.
The NSERC?
Of the exam.
Oh, the answers. Oh, of the exam. No. Good try though. The answer is Python code. Yes. Nah, it's knowing the date time stuff will be useful on the exam. There's like the question, the exam, in my opinion, might be a little bit long right now, so I might scrap a question on it, and if I were to scrap a question, it might be the one to do with date time. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Still got some time. Yes.
How many questions would be like the final exam and how many questions?
I'm not going to say how many questions, but the exam has been designed for the amount of time that the exam is, the right time of the exam is like 40%, or no, it's 66% longer than the midterm, so you should expect 66% more tests, at least.
Will there be bonus questions?
Yes, there are bonus questions. Yes.
You grab the date time questions, will you tell us?
No. No, because I might decide to scrap something else. If you're lucky, I'll scrap something other than the date time question. Date time questions tend to be on the easier side. So don't worry, I'm not going to scrap the classes question. That would be a bridge too far. Cool. Nobody's got any questions? So everybody's going to get 100% on the exam then? Good. I'm glad. Yes.
Any recommended study resources?
Recommended study resources. So I did post the test 3 and the that practice problem set that was put together from previous test questions. That would be my recommended study app, if that makes sense. Because these are actual test questions that were written for the class you're currently taking, they should give you a good idea of the flavor of the questions that you'll be asked, as well as being like of proper, well, you have to take it with a bit of a pinch of salt, because a lot of those questions were written under pandemic scenarios where we used to run the tests as take-home tests, so the problems were, you could really sink your teeth into them. Like I believe I think the Go question got in there as well. I kind of, for a while, I was doing this series of test questions where I just had you like do the guts of a board game. Like the checkers question, I liked that one so much it got into an assignment, but there was like a series of them. But yeah, so that would be my recommendation. Try out the questions that I posted. Yes.
I can't seem to find test 3 anywhere.
Oh, it's on Jupyter. Yeah, sorry. I assume each one of you is capable of logging into Jupyter and retrieving it. If not, hopefully you have a friend who is. Way at the back, you're going to have to shout.
This test for sure is going to be in person and not take-home test or anything like that, right?
Correct. It is going to be in person. The department has hired 3 scabs to invigilate. So, yeah.
This is kind of a random question, but like, what's the thought process when you're designing a question for the class?
What's the thought process when designing the question? That's an interesting question. Generally speaking, you start with the algorithm itself, right? So it's sort of test question generation starts with the program, right? You write the program, you test the program, then you write the question to fit the program, and then as a final step, you generate like the visible and hidden test cases from the solution. So everything is sort of derived from the solution. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
I heard that from on the team test, the way that you decide I heard that the way that you decide the difficulty of the questions is if the TAs can finish it in 20 minutes. Am I right?
So in general, the way that I my normal process for deciding test length is I have the TAs write the entire test, recording how much time they take to write the questions. If the total amount of time that it takes the TAs to write all of the questions on the test is 1/3 to 1/4 of the amount of time you guys have to write the questions, I consider it to be a test of appropriate length.
So for the exam, how'd you figure out the length?
Well,
the TAs are?
I certainly don't have any TAs to test it on, do I? So I'm just eyeballing it.
I can test it.
I know, yeah. I appreciate it, but it's you'd have to fill out the conflict of interest form, and there's all kinds of paperwork to do. So, but yeah, that's actually that's one of those ancient inherited wisdoms going down through the ages at academic institutions, is that the professor or people who are employed teaching the class, shall we say, should take 1/4 the amount of time to do a test as the people writing the test. And and you know, it's kind of like, if you were to like reduce that to like an eighth, you know, you couldn't ask any meaningful questions anymore, basically. So there's also like, I have to be able to make the question sufficiently difficult for it to be a test, you know. But you know, I can't just take all of the material that I've been teaching for like 4 years now and just like dial the difficulty down to like pre-high school level, you know. Like, it's not like I would like ask you what a bit is, for example. Yeah, it has to be a certain level of difficulty. I understand that like this is considered a difficult class and that people weren't satisfied with the grades that they got on the midterms. Well, the second one anyway, and perhaps everybody thought of it as a bolt of divine justice that test 3 was smoked from existence. But like basically what's happened with the program, a lot of the second year material has been moved up into first year at the expense of like electives. Like COMPSCI used to get a lot of electives. Now you guys get like very like comparatively few compared to how it used to be.
I think it was 30 units.
Yeah, how much of it has to be? How much of it is technical though? Like the first year program itself.
I think 30 is what
I know they advertise that 25% of our units will sell 4 years are like free to fill minor and
Yeah.
that's their market.
In theory, it's enough to do a minor, but like certainly, I like you guys. How many electives did you guys get in first year? 2? Yeah, like before you would have gotten like 2 per semester or something like that. You know. So the idea is to load up first year with basically the hard software courses. Well, not hard. You know, like core software courses that, for example, the software engineers don't get until second year because they have to, you know, slog their way through the Eng1 program and learn a bunch of pointless nonsense about material science. Not that material science is pointless, but for a software engineer, you know. So the idea is to give you guys a competitive advantage over the software engineers because you have co-op, you in theory are able to apply for co-op jobs and like actually know what you're talking about by the end of this year, right? However, that meant that a lot of material got moved from second year into first year. That has had the knock-on effect of a lot of material from third year getting moved into second year, like the databases course. And when things get moved down a year, like generally speaking, like the last thing I would ever expect any professor to do is actually change any of the curriculum, right? Unless they're teaching the course for the first time. So it is the absurd, and you know you can talk to Mark Hutchison about this. I'm sure will like this is as he has reported it to me, right? Because he's gone through the program and he's been sort of the edge case. He was like not under the new system, so he's been like the last year of the old system. He's been watching the changes go through, right? A lot of the third year material, it's dubious whether you'd be ready for it in second year, in my opinion. And you know, I've been told very explicitly by the coordinator of undergraduate, the curriculum coordinator for the COMPSCI program, that I was not to allow the standards to slip in any of my classes any further, because basically a bunch of students were ending up in third year and just like having like no clue what was going on, and it's very frustrating for the professors to be teaching people who have like no clue about anything that's going on in their class, right? So that is the origin of the rule where people outside the COMPSCI program have to get at least a B in certain classes to even get registered in second year courses, right? Which is a new rule. Which, you know, to be fair, if you've taken like a bunch of first year COMPSCI programs and skated through all of them with D minuses, you know, whether or not whether you're ready for second-year algorithms, I'd say you're probably not, right? So I don't necessarily think the rule is unfair even. However, you know, that rule only works if a B still means a B 2 years from now, right? So that's, you know, that's the state of the universe. If the 1XC3 professor that they get doesn't use my course materials, just email me and I'll send them to you. I did that last year. So. Yeah. Any other questions? I guess this has kind of turned into an AMA. Yes?
What are you going to be teaching at
Oh,
yeah.
2 units of Java and 1 unit of JavaScript. So that's kind of cool. I'm looking forward to it actually. I've never really had the time to sink my teeth into Java. My understanding of the Java program that the Java course that I'll be teaching at Mohawk is that it doesn't quite get as far as 1MD3 in terms of difficulty of course material. Like because I used to teach part-time at Mohawk, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I know a little bit about the program I'm walking into. Their intro Python programming class doesn't get any further than like loops and maybe some very light data structure stuff at the end, you know? So that's a semester for them, right? By then the next semester they have Java, which to the students is like, it's considered the ballworth. That's the course where, you know, that's the centrifuge course, right? However, from what I've seen of their Java course, which isn't much, I would be surprised if it got any further than what MD3 did. So it's just in Java, which, you know, is better anyways because Python sucks. But yeah. I mean, you probably were you around when I declared holy war on Python? No. This semester I specifically declared holy war on Python. I made a pronouncement.
I took engineering.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, I found out some of the wonderful people in this very class illuminated to me how Python does private members. Right? Have you seen this?
No.
Okay.
Should I be scared? No.
Yes, you should be scared. You should. Yeah, it's. Oh my God. Oh my God. All right. So let me just pull up the example that we were doing at the time. Yeah, it still has this. So
That's not Java.
what?
Python's the worst language. The first is Java.
So Java's just old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit biased, but it's Java.
I mean, I'm used to teaching C, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Old as they come, pretty much.
yeah. It's like any older and I'd be teaching friggin' COBOL, you know? As professors go, I'm kind of like the dusty old librarian of programming languages, you know?
Like that one kid who was the only old music, but
You know what's hilarious is I actually do only listen to old music. I won't listen to anything that's newer than the late 70s. Because that's when, that's the last time the culture was good. Anyway, so Fun facts about Python. Topic h.py. All right. So I just want to show you this because it's amazing, right? So I've got this this mean calculator class which has two private members, S and C. And this could also be like a little bit review of classes for the rest of you folks. So in theory, so one of the things that's crazy about Python, if you use a member variable name that's the same as a private member, it'll just create it inside of the class without, like it'll just have a private and a public version of the same variable because it doesn't consider them to be the same variable because it is like, it actually considers those underscores to be part of the identifier. So, so that's bad, right? You can just create members of the class on the fly, which is stupid. But even worse, everything's stored in this _ dictionary __, right? The way that it makes private members private is it takes the class name and one underscore character, prepends that to the name of the private variable, and then just deals with it as if it were a public variable. So if you know the magic word, you could, like in this example here, I am setting the value of this protected member S to Python is the worst language. And if you can see in the output, before I do that, here is what the contents of the class are, right? See this S that was added, right? But like private S, private C, both with the class name are prepended, right? I invoke this line and suddenly as long as you know the name of the class, there's no such thing as a private member. Right? So, in consequence of this, I declared holy war on Python. And I need every single person in this room to also declare holy war on Python. Anytime anybody anytime anybody suggests doing anything serious in Python, they need to be slapped in the face. Just give them a good backhander, just like that. It's like, no! Python is the worst language. You might as well be writing in feces on the wall, honestly. But anyway, so that's why Python. That's why I declared holy war on Python, because like it doesn't. It's only pretending to have private members in classes. Like security.
No, it's no such thing as that.
Yeah.
You can override any method you want.
It's 2020.
I run the
thing is security.
Yeah.
It could be like.
It makes my heart sad. Yeah. Question? Yes. Donald.
Apparently there was a group of people at Google who tried to suggest that all of the things that they have written in Python be rewritten and redone. Because nothing ever be written in Python again. But unfortunately it didn't get very far. So still have some of the things written in Python.
They shut them down, did they?
Yeah.
No,
See, it's not even that difficult to like redo this in like Java or C++ or something like that. Like honestly, like re-implementing large parts of your code base, like any manager will say no, But like the server, like imagine putting this on a server, know? Just like consider the possibilities, you know? Man.
And a single line of arbitrary code you execute, you can do anything you want.
Yeah.
Like any sort of running in Python can like be like have its integrity like abolished and like
It's
and lots of
it's basically impossible to sandbox Python is impossible.
Yeah.
You can get every single cardinal language is run sort of runtime.
Yeah.
You can override methods, overriding codes, and everything.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask if there was stuff that reviewed like SQL stuff, like some process
Yeah, I think there's in those problem sets I released. I think there are a couple of SQL questions. If not, let me know. I'll do whatever. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions, or should we just complain about Python for the rest of the class? Yes.
Does our lowest assignment get dropped?
Yes. Yeah. Most assignments get dropped. Even if you cheated. Oh, it was definitely on track to be in line with last year. The only problem is, like, what am I going to do without TAs? Yeah, we were on track to hit about 30% of the class. Yeah, and that's usually, like, that's only the people who are getting caught, you know? Like, I think that if I was able to be gone, and I could tell the contents of a person's soul just by looking at them, I think probably 70–80% of the people in the program cheat in one form or another. Well, in the case of the people we catch, it's direct copying of code from other students or from internet sources. Sometimes they try to obfuscate things a little bit by changing variable names, which is always cute. I always think that's cute. It's like they'll try to obfuscate by changing variable names, but then they'll leave comments in from internet sources or their friends. It's like, yeah. It's always kind of suspicious, you know, when you see two copies which are the same code. One has no comments, the other has like lots of comments, and yet all of the instructions are exactly the same. But yeah, it's a problem that the university doesn't really want to deal with, so they kind of sweep it under the rug. You know, it's very easy for a prof to convince himself, oh no, there's no cheating going on in my class. Yes.
So one of the problems that most of us had with the second midterm is that the length of the questions was like really long. So I was wondering if on the exam it's also, if it's going to be shorter.
So in general, the questions on the exam will be more compact than the ones on the assignments. Certainly you won't see anything like the checkers question, right? At least not on a in-person, sit-down, write the exam format. I would do that sort of thing if it was a take-home, but because we're going to be in a room, they won't be as long. Make sense? Yes.
How do you expect the internet connection to be in the test room? Is it going to be like stable or?
Sorry?
The internet connection in the test room, is it going to be like stable or?
Should be good. Yeah. However, every single person in this room is encouraged to have their own personal local version of Jupyter up and operational for the exam in case something happens. In case 30 people all at the same time desire to run an infinite loop on the server, you know. Yeah, you can submit through Active, yeah. Yeah, same as usual, all the usual channels. So, this is like the last 5 minutes of the last time I'm ever teaching 1MD3. Yes?
Is there any scenario where you would curve the exam grade or our grades?
Sorry, say again?
Are there any scenarios where you would curve our grades?
Are there any scenarios where I curve your grades? I don't curve. As a rule, I don't curve. I like to have some confidence that the difficulty of the test that I set is appropriate for the program, and that basically, like, getting a bad grade on a test to me is sometimes the most kind thing you can do to someone. And I know it locally feels terrible to fail a test. Trust me, I've failed plenty of tests in my time at university, but, especially in an environment where in high school they don't really fail you on anything. It's not really possible to fail anything. It's like failure is a fact of life, and you need to be sufficiently mentally robust to be able to deal with the existence of failure, and the fact that you won't you won't necessarily get perfect at everything you attempt in life, and you have at that point a choice, you either pull up your socks and try again and try harder this time, or, you decide to do something else because that's not the path for you. Now, I wouldn't decide that COMPSCI is not your path based on one failed test, because that would be catastrophization, right? Like, how many tests did I fail? I think I probably failed like 6 or 8 tests across my undergraduate career. I actually only passed thermodynamics through round-off error. Yeah, that was rough. Like, I'm a robotics major. Why the hell do I have to be concerned with Boyle's gas law? Yeah, but
Are you looking forward towards teaching adults?
a lot of them will be younger than you guys.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a lot of people who are in university have taken a victory lap in high school. College it's much less common to do a victory lap, so they tend to be a bit younger on average. But there are, at the college, you're right, there is a much larger component of continuing education guys and people coming back to do stuff. It'll be interesting. Actually, I like the mix. It's good to have old and young people all in the same crowd. One of the reasons that civilization has fallen apart is because human beings